Greetings and welcome to Nathan Lyle Official. If you've never seen my face in a video before, my name is Nathan Lyle. This is my personal channel where I do vlogs, reviews, and anything else that happens to catch my fancy. Today, I'm doing another Forgotten 90s TV shows video. If you haven't seen the first one, feel free to check that out. I should be putting this one on the same playlist. If you're not going to watch that, let me just give you a brief explanation of what this is. I'm going to talk about shows from my childhood, the late 90s, early 2000s, that I feel are not talked about enough. Shows that in my private life, people that I talk to never bring it up. When I bring it up, most of the time they don't seem to know what it is. I don't hear a lot of mentions of it throughout pop culture. They're not talking about it in songs. They're not talking about it on other TV shows. So there are shows like Gilmore Girls, very popular in the late 90s. So popular that it is constantly mentioned and referenced on a bunch of other shows. That is not going to be mentioned on this one, because you already know what that is, I'm assuming. These are going to be shows that, if you have seen them, good. You and I can probably be friends, but if you haven't seen them, feel free to check them out. I'm going to have like 5 or 6 of these total, and it's because after writing the first one, I had so many others that I felt deserved to be on the list, and I left off for one reason or another. These, most of them I thought of when I was making the first video, and I left them off specifically because even though you might not remember this specific show, you might still possibly just happen to run across it because it is attached to a larger franchise. So that's the one thing that every single show I'm going to talk about in this video has in common. You may not have heard of this specific show, but it is at least still possible for you to come across it accidentally because it's connected to something that you very likely have heard of. For instance, I'm sure everyone here has heard of Animaniacs. And I feel like there's a good chunk of you out there who probably know about Tiny Toon Adventures.
Tiny Toon Adventures, come and join the fun. And now our song is done.
I'm sure if you remember both of those shows, then you definitely know about Pinky and the Brain, a show that started as a segment on Animaniacs but was so popular they ended up getting their own show.
Gee, Brain, what do you want to do tonight?
Same thing we do every night, Pinky.
But who here remembers when Pinky and the Brain became a throuple? That's right, for one season only, Pinky and the Brain added a Tiny Toons character, and they became Pinky, Elmira, and the Brain. Next, we're going to jump into a show that everyone has definitely heard of, Power Rangers. As I'm sure many of you know, Power Rangers was one of the most popular TV shows in the 90s. So popular that Saban licensed a whole bunch of other Japanese shows and adapted them to American audiences as well, including VR Troopers, Kamen Rider, and Big Bad Beetleborgs. But 2 lesser known shows that I'm only going to touch on briefly are Mystic Knights of Tirnanog and Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. Yes, that's the real name. Mystic Knights of Tirnanog I really can't talk about because I barely remembered this existed. I was having a conversation with someone one day and I was like, wasn't there a Power Rangers show where they were knights or something? And they were like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? And I looked it up and I found this and I was like, oh shit, I remember that. But I don't really remember it, so I tried watching it again. I got like 3 or 4 episodes in and I'm like, I don't remember any of this shit. I'm putting it on the list. I'll get to it eventually. It might take, 5 years, but eventually there will be a review of Mystic Knights of Tirnanog on this channel. Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad I can only briefly mention because I honestly don't remember specific details about this adaptation other than the fact that it has Matthew Lawrence and Tim Curry, so I really can't talk in depth about it other than the fact that it's an adaptation of Gridman. And if you don't know who Gridman is, he's in the same vein as like an Ultraman. Now, he's not as old as Ultraman because Ultraman's as old as Godzilla. They've both been around since at least the 50s. Anyways, the point is, We're not getting into that shit. I'm just letting you know it exists. Speaking of Godzilla, that gives me the perfect segue to talk about Godzilla. I'm sure most of you know that in the 90s, Matthew Broderick starred in a Godzilla movie, a movie that in my personal opinion gets way too much hate. It's actually a pretty decent flick. We're not going to get into that now. Now that I think about it, it's on the list too. I'm going to have to do a review of that. But in the meantime, that movie actually led to a TV series, because at the end of the movie, an egg hatches. In the TV series, we actually have Nick there when the egg hatches, so now that Godzilla thinks that Nick is the mommy and will always pop up to save him anytime he's in trouble. And next on the list is another 90s movie franchise that turned into a TV series, Men in Black. I think in my entire life, I've only met like 2 or 3 people who have not seen Men in Black, the movie. Not once in the last 25 years has anyone ever said to me, oh, but do you remember Men in Black, the series, the little animated cartoon that came on Saturday mornings? I feel like this has legitimately been erased from everyone's mind. They used a neuralizer on the whole audience and it worked. No one has ever talked about it. I felt completely forgot about it until I started researching for these videos, and then I was like, oh shit, wait a minute, didn't I? Oh my god. I mean, I have not seen it since the 90s, so imagine my shock when I look it up and find out this forgotten gem had 4 freaking seasons. What the fuck? If you're wondering why the lighting's different, the location is different, my clothes are different, it's because I'm editing footage from a few days ago, and I realized I completely forgot to record myself telling you that in the early 90s there was a TV show based off of the very popular video game Mega Man. Once again, it's hard for me to talk about this because I haven't seen an episode in like 30 years. But I do remember it being one of my favorites growing up. And if you enjoy Mega Man at all, I feel like this is one worth enjoying, because even though I haven't seen it in 30 years, I still remember the theme song very clearly. And last but certainly not least, we are going to mention a show called Beast Machines. Beast Machines is pretty much the bastard stepchild of the Transformers universe. It seems to be the most universally disliked amongst all Transformers media, and that's saying something. It really is. Personally, while I will agree it is not quite as good as its predecessor, I don't hate it. I think it's kind of cool. That's just me. Beast Machines is a sequel to Beast Wars, and in Beast Machines, I once again have not seen it since the 90s. But, like, if I'm remembering correctly, they made it back to Cybertron, but somehow in the future. And there's a lot of shit going on. Like, less than half the cast returns. Only like a few core members are still there. I remember it being fun. I remember buying a couple of the toys. I didn't buy them, I didn't have the money, but I had a couple of the toys. They magically appeared under the tree at Christmas. So anyway, yeah, that's it for this episode. I will be back in 2026 with more installments of this series. Until then, there is still plenty of content that will be on this channel. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, all that other good shit. And until the next time you see my face in a video, whenever that happens to be, I hope you have a great day, week, month, year, however long it is.
You smoked all of it, didn't you?